All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to crack the code on a GCSE chemistry question. And the key? It's something most people only get to see after the exam, the mark scheme. Understanding how this thing thinks is your secret weapon for getting the best marks possible. So, let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to take on a multi-part question, breaking it down piece by piece, and see exactly what an examiner is looking for. We'll hit formulas, compare some metals, check out reactivity, and then, at the end, we'll pull it all together so you have a solid strategy for success.
Okay, first things first. Our whole mission today is to get out of the student mindset and start thinking like the person holding the red pen. It's a total game changer.
You know that feeling, right? You've revised, you know your stuff, but you're just not totally sure what words, what phrasing is going to get you those marks. Well, we're about to close that gap for good because we're looking directly at their secret instruction manual.
First up, let's tackle the basics, chemical formulas and atomic structure. These are often those quick one-mark questions where every little detail, every bit of precision absolutely counts.
So the first question wants a chemical formula. With these, there's just no wiggle room. You either know it or you don't. And as we're about to see, the mark scheme is just as black and white.
And there it is, FES2. That's it. That's the whole answer. One mark, nice and simple. But hang on, look closely. Capital F, lowercase e, capital S, subscript 2. Every single part of that has to be perfect, but getting the letters right is only half the story.
And this right here is absolutely crucial. The mark scheme says, do not accept equations. So even if you wrote a beautiful, perfectly balanced equation that had FES2 in it, you would get 0 marks. Why? Because the question asked for a formula, and only a formula gets the point.
Okay, on to question 022. This is testing your knowledge of atomic structure. And again, it looks pretty simple on the surface. You just need to find 3 numbers. But you guessed it, the mark scheme has a little trap waiting for you.
So these are the numbers the examiner wants to see. 26 protons, 30 neutrons, and 26 electrons. 3 correct numbers. Seems easy enough, but let's look at the fine print.
And there's the trap. Must be this order. So if you wrote 26, 26, 30, even though all the numbers are technically correct for the atom, you'd get 0. The mark scheme isn't just testing what you know, it's testing if you can present it with absolute precision.
All right, let's keep it moving. The next part of the question shifts gears a bit. Now we have to compare the properties of 2 different metals. So we're moving from just recalling facts to actually applying what you know.
This next one is for 2 marks. We need 2 differences between iron and sodium. And this is where suddenly the mark scheme goes from being super rigid to being way more flexible. Just look at all the options you have here. It says any 2 from, and the list is huge. You could talk about melting points, density, how hard or strong they are, or their reactivity. You could even get the marks for saying iron forms colored compounds, or it can be a catalyst. You just have to pick any 2 from that list. The mark scheme also says allow the converse. Now what does that mean? It means you don't have to talk about iron. You can flip it and talk about sodium instead. So saying sodium is softer gets you the exact same mark as saying iron is harder. They're just 2 sides of the same coin, and the examiner is happy with either one. Now we're at the final part of the question. This one is all about building a logical argument. It's based on what you know about the reactivity series, and it's your chance to show you really understand cause and effect in chemistry. Okay, this is a classic 2-mark explain question. See that word, why? That's your big clue. It's not enough to just state a fact, you have to connect the ideas. The mark scheme is looking for 2 linked points, a reason and then a result. And here it is, the perfect 2-mark answer. Mark number 1 comes from stating the reason. Carbon is more reactive than nickel. Simple. Mark number 2 comes from stating the consequence of that fact. So, carbon will displace nickel. See how one point leads directly to the next? It's a chain of logic, and that's what gets you both marks.
So, we've taken the question apart, but the real goal here was to learn the language of the mark scheme. So, let's recap the secret code we've just figured out.
Really, the big takeaway is this. You've got to treat mark schemes like they're instruction manuals, not just answer keys. Keep an eye out for those key words like must or do not accept. Understand that words like allow are your friends. They give you options. And for those bigger explain questions, always link your reason to your result. This is how you make sure you get every single mark you've earned.
You see,
Thinking like an examiner completely changes the game. When you know exactly what they're looking for, you're not just hoping you've got it right, you're writing the perfect answer that's already on their sheet. Thanks for tuning in.